Thank you for joining the Once Changing the World, which is India's first future tech meets sustainability podcast. And today I'm delighted and honored to have with me Mr. Suman Kanuganti, who's the co-founder and CEO at Personal.ai, who's building a digital version of your mind. Earlier, he founded Aira Tech, the company which was recognized as one of Time magazine's best innovations and Fast Company's world-changing ideas, where he scaled artificial intelligence and augmented reality technology to assist the blind and low vision community. So, Suman, it's a truly pleasure and honor to have you on the podcast.
Thank you, Eddie. Nice meeting you.
Why don't we start with a brief introduction, your background and journey?
My name is Suman Kanuganti. By background, I'm an engineer. By trade, I like to create products and experiences, and mostly passionate about solving hard problems for humans, is how I put it, which are the problems that are close to an individual person. In my previous company, as you mentioned, it's a technology for people who are blind and low vision to fill the gap of missing visual information. And in this company at Personal.ai, it is to fill the gap of missing memories and cognition, with using AI as a technology. So the philosophy always has been, you don't solve the human, you solve the problem, which is going about using technology as a foundation to augment people's capabilities to do more.
Lovely. I want to get into how technology is enabled us and it's augmenting us. Obviously, I'll get into that later. But yeah, I want to talk about Aira Tech, your company. How you're leveraging AI and AR to assist blind people.
Yeah. So Aira, I started the company back in 2015. It was with the general premise of the concept of, rather than looking at the blindness as a issue or a disability, if you just look at from a perspective of they are missing this visual information, and what if we are able to indeed provide this rich audio descriptions of life around you and allow blind people to make choices and decisions to negotiate with the physical environment and experience the world in a different way. This started about with the Google glasses coming into the market, and a good friend of mine who is blind and low vision, and brainstorming with him on potentially using, what if we use the camera in front of the glass to potentially augment the missing visual information for people who cannot see. So that's kind of like the genesis of the idea, and I'm super proud of it because it created tons of different experiences, enable people to do more things, take more risk, travel around the world, experience Disneyland, reading books to children. So it enabled a lot of new experiences, not just about getting from point A to point B, but it's also just understanding or getting a sense of the vastness of the world and the experiences it has to offer from an audio description standpoint.
Right. How cool is that? Though I mean, the Google Glass, I feel it was too early into the market, and that's the reason it didn't
That's
kind of
right.
work. But then just the idea of leveraging cameras, front-facing cameras, to kind of give you audio information so that blind people can navigate through the world, the physical world. It's such a brilliant idea, and even now, I mean, it can be leveraged in such beautiful ways. You mentioned about solving hard problems and augmenting humans through technology. Can you elaborate on that a little bit, please?
I mean, it could be simple, right? At the end of the day, technology can do a lot of things, mostly around, efficiency, right? You can take a thing and improve it by 10x. You can save time. But if we naturally think about um, a individual person or a human needs, the basic needs of being able to, see things, remember things, recall things, experience life, go to places. There are a good number of challenges that kind of currently exist. So I revolve most of my philosophy around the human senses. So I started off with vision, like, visual information gap. And now with personal AI, I moved on to the mind and the memory. We consume and create a lot of information, but we retain only 20% of it. So what if we are able to synthesize and comprehend, all these experiences that are happening in our daily lives, from the childhood to the time we grow up, from being a toddler to grow up growing up, the culmination of the experiences we are unable to use today. We are only able at the mercy of what we remember. And we are still able to achieve so many different things, progress technologically, and to move forward together. So this idea of like augmenting that missing memories, being able to recall and enhance our cognition to the point where it can create even more beautiful experiences, enrich even more beautiful experiences, I think is unknown to explore. I can relate this to Aira a little bit because early on when we started the company, it was more or less about great, this technology can get people from point A to point B more efficiently. Instead of taking 1 hour, you can probably get the task done, within 10 minutes. But over time, what we have realized is that the beautiful part of Ira turned out to be unlocking these experiences that were never possible before. Like there's just this idea of the vastness of the world, to give to a blind person was mind blowing. Um, so so I think there is something about exploring the unknown because we get like so bogged down into just making things faster, more efficient. Um, but for me, this idea of augmenting or exploring unknown things for the human is very similar to like exploring the space, right? Like that exploring the unknown. I think there's still opportunity over there to unlock for us.
I think in a fast-paced world that we live in currently, where I think almost all of the startups or all entrepreneurs really concerned largely over scaling and profits at any cost. I think you come as a fresh breath of air, where you're saying that explore the unknown. Find ways where we can create human engagements that can add more value and look at places where other people are not looking. Because I think we need to relook at the way we've been doing business or engaging people, education, healthcare, because we are so stuck with our old ways and old methods. Because I think almost all of the institutions, be it education, be it healthcare, be it governance, I think these are 100-year-old organization, legacy, traditional, structured organization, which confines you in a box. And today's generation, I think they're asking deeper questions, and they are asking like, what if we do this, what if we do that? And I'm so honored to have a conversation who's somebody who's like finding those this thing. So talk to me a little bit about personal AI, because today uh, uh, I came from a world which there was no internet. Then internet happened, in 1990s, and today I think there's an information overload. There's FOMO, because fear of missing out. There's so much information. It's so difficult to kind of funnel in all of those huge data sets into something which is contextual and important and connecting to your personal life and your personal growth. What is it that personal AI can do into creating that?
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it in beautifully. I think the information, I do have these numbers, like it's exploding on how much we seek, what is the rapid pace of information that we seek. Not only about seeking information, but the most important thing is being able to synthesize and recall that information and put the right piece of information in the right place. Now, this idea of like how our biological memory functions. Biological memory functions by essentially retrieving the information that we know from the past, but you're only retrieving maybe 20% of the information that is needed. And then you are using that in synthesizing and forming a response. Like even right now, when I'm creating a response to your question, I'm naturally using, my experiences, and it's only 20% of it. But the intention in here is, will we be able to have a personal AI or your own AI that understands you more than anybody else, who never forgets, because your human brain forgets, but not just about storing the data, but can it like synthesize and recall contextual piece of information for you in that moment, to be able to use. And can it use it more ambiently? Meaning, we are so used to asking questions to the internet, searching for information. So if we humans can create the responses, can we go a step further? Can we augment ourselves by being able to form those responses with the technology, so we can then, augment or change or edit even further? So the experiences that we are unlocking with personal AI today could be huge. The use cases are many, because people do want to take this personal language model that we have developed and use it for many different purposes. However, at the core, the intention or the purpose of personal AI is to be like you, to be more like you, to be able to talk to yourself, to unlock the richness of knowledge and experiences that you have gained, but not only for yourself, but for people around you. The genesis of personal AI turned out to be, when I lost a close friend, mentor, investor of mine. His name is Larry Walk. He bootstrapped me as an entrepreneur, and I learned a lot from him, over a period of 18 months, and he got pancreatic cancer. So I picked up this mantra of like, what would Larry do? Which is almost like stepping in his shoes. Okay, if I have a situation, not just from an emotional point of view, but from a strategic thinking perspective as well, like, what would Larry do? And over a period of time, even those memories are fading away. So the idea of like having a digital mind of Larry for me to communicate and to access when I don't have access, whether because he doesn't exist in this world, or whether because that person is a thought leader and I don't have access to potentially have a conversation with that person. And this idea of like, people do not have time, right? Like, how do you scale time? And if you were to want to have a conversation with Larry or Elon Musk, or people, close friends around you, it's at the mercy of availability of time at both the parties, and access, and and even cognition. So there could be like many ways to see the problem, but at the core, if we are indeed able to pack somebody's mind into this model, you are able to build on top of everything that you got, and give that everything that you got to other people to access you and interact you. We do have a product that we are launching to essentially enhance human to human conversations more deeply. And I'm excited to kind of launch that product. But as of today, we do have a platform where everybody can technically train their own personal AI and unlock, pretty much, generating the content, writing tweets, asking questions, recalling information, all those aspects.
Would you mind kind of like, getting into the back end of this? How does this work? Because what would be the application? How do I train my personal AI?
So basically what we do is we created an algorithm, and it's basically called a personal language model. It's an implementation of the GPT architecture, which is a similar implementation of OpenAI GPT architecture, except that OpenAI GPT-3 model is trained on Internet of Data, which is public data available. What we have used the GPT architecture is to create this personal language model, where it is essentially developed to train on small amounts of data, which is individual data. Now, that individual data can be like historical data that you may have on yourself, such as your text messages, your emails, your documents, you have articles, your like everything that you have mentioned. Although for students or for people who are starting fresh, who doesn't have any data, it can be as simple as thinking about having a conversation with your own AI, telling your AI about you, your knowledge, everything that you would want to potentially remember for it to continuously train. So the application that we are going to unlock Since it's February 1st, I cannot speak much about it. But in March first week, when we do release an application, it's to simplify the idea of everybody getting their own AI. And our goal is to literally get everybody to have their own personal AI. Similar to how you would have an email address for everybody, you would need to have your own personal AI, which belongs to you and it grows with you. And it essentially is a data collection and the model, which also belongs to the user. So we don't use data to aggregate the data. We actually give the ownership of the data to the people. And with the intention that eventually these models of individual people represents them, has the trust associated with that person. The AI responses has the attribution back to the person and where the source and where the data is coming from. And collectively, I don't know, 50, 100 years from now, the history will be told differently because everybody will have their own personal AI on how their life is, not the culmination of the collective intelligence of what exists on the internet.
So, of what I understand, it's almost like a digital twin. Like today, how we have digital twins, and then you're sensorizing these digital twins, and it's collecting all the data, and you are able to better understand the physical model. So you are building this model, which we as a user, supposing if I want to kind of train that model, it'll learn who I am, what I do much better. And eventually it'll be integrated into various applications, maybe extending it to possibly banking or what it'll maybe services that is that roughly what
that is accurate, except that the latter part, which is about doing the tasks, like the banking and everything, is a secondary benefit, not the primary benefit. The primary benefit is more about synthesizing your knowledge and your experience, not necessarily getting tasks done for you. So it will enable or unlock more conversations, if you will. Like if I would want to talk to Eddie, right, I would have a conversation with your AI and learn from you and exchange information from you, and it could act on your behalf. Yes, it can also tell things, if you are free or if you are unavailable or if you are doing something else as well. But the core purpose is not to automate the things that you do in your life, but the core purpose is to learn to be like you from an experiential, from a knowledge and from a style perspective. Yeah, so the first application is essentially a messenger application. So it's basically going to be WhatsApp like, right, where people will simply come, create their personal AI account, and then start chatting and communicating with each other. By virtue of communicating with each other, your personal AI will start training and start providing you suggestions and drafts automatically from the known information in a co-pilot setting or an autopilot setting. You can obviously choose to fast track the training by uploading a whole bunch of your previous data already, but at the core, you are essentially getting people onto an application for messaging with each other. So it's a WhatsApp with personal AIs built in for everybody.
Right. So, Suman, we've been accelerated into this digital world, and people are giving it various names, and Metaverse seems to be one of the names. And even the internet itself is changing, evolving fast from the Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, and then we've something called the creator economy. How are you going to leverage all of these opportunities?
We always position ourselves like AI in Web 3. And for us, Web 3 is pretty simple. So AI is what? AI is about training the models on the data, right? Web 3 is all about owning the data to the individuals. But personal AI is also, it's about data for the individuals to be trained on. So the common element is the data and the individual and the ownership idea of it. So we essentially leverage blockchain technologies to guarantee that ownership of the data to the people, right? Yes, we will still build models on top of your individual data, so that people can enable those interactions with your own AI. So that's kind of like the Web3 angle for us, which is the privacy and the ownership, and it does unlock creative ways for you to, monetize your own mind. In this case, personal AI is your mind. So rather than thinking about just, consulting, your time per hour for $400, you can think about, renting out your AI for an hour. And Web3 allows you to do this pricing dynamics, which is dynamic pricing. If it has more demand, then people are willing to pay for gaining access to to your AI or virtually to you. So I think Web3 is purely like a technology that kind of enables. And at the end of the day, as I was mentioning earlier, I focus more on, okay, how do you solve this problem, and how do you like unlock these experiences, whether the technology is coming from like Web 2 or shifting to Web 3. But eventually, I believe there is a common trend that is happening in the world, which is more centered around individual experiences, not necessarily institutional or corporate experiences. So I think creator economy is more or less the same, right? Like, how do you create experiences around an individual, around a particular creator? Then comes the metaverse. So metaverse is what? Metaverse is all about, virtual world. Okay, so you have a virtual world where you can have an experience, and that virtual world can be a simulation of your physical world where you can have an experience as well. You can have like virtual avatars, like virtual AIs and virtual bots and virtual land. But what it is missing is people. So how beautiful is it to actually, have these avatars actually plug in their minds, which is their personal AIs. So now we are talking about, virtual people, not just like virtual digital things or human, like, made up bots, but an actual representation of a person in the form of their personal AI that is living and breathing in an avatar in the metaverse, right? So that's the next level of experiences. Like when I go to have an experience and put my, VR goggles and go to a metaverse, I would want to experience having that connection with the people as well. So not just about texting and messaging, that is the Web 2 2D world experiences. Now you go into a metaverse and you meet Eddie, and maybe his avatar is there that is stylistically like you or behaving like you, but it is plugged to your personal AI brain, so I can actually have a real conversation with you. So that's the connection that I see with personal AI and everything else that is going on.
India as a market opportunity. What do you use?
Right now it's the limitation is only like English speaking. So any country that is English as a primary language, they can get started with starting to train their personal AIs. And with the application that we will release in March, that should technically make it accessible for everybody to essentially start for free and get going and get a personal AI for everyone.
What's a moonshot?
10 years from now, 3 billion people will be carrying their personal AIs in their pockets. So the phone won't be full of apps. The phone will be your personal AI.
What's your view on AGI?
AGI will coexist alongside with personal AIs, and there may be communication and exchanges between AGI and APIs.
Suman, really appreciate you taking time and being part of the podcast. I think we're living in exciting times. In the beginning of the conversation, I was mentioning, there's an overload of information, and possibly maybe personal AI could be that app which kind of filters that information out individually and maybe enhances that individual's experiences into the new world. So wish you and your team the very best. And to my listeners, if you like what you see in here, then please press the subscribe button. And until next time, see you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Really appreciate this.